Morning. Just got back from the gym. Wanted to share a quick thought from you that I have been studying and learning a little bit. Yesterday, I flew back and hurried and got dressed and went to church. And I was in elders quorum and I learned something, and a scripture came up, or I guess my mind remembered a scripture, and I brought it up and I shared it. And I figured it was worth sharing with all of you. And it's out of Doctrine and Covenants, chapter 130, verses 20 and 21. And for those of you that don't know what that is, in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or what some people call Mormons, that's a book of Revelations that was given to Joseph Smith back in the 1800s. And before you tune out, I would ask you to just hear me out. Listen to the lesson and you decide if it's true or if it's not true. And I might get the scripture a little bit wrong, but I think I got it. It says this. It says, "There is a law irrevocably decreed before the foundations of the earth, upon which all blessings are predicated. And when we obtain any blessing from God, it is based on obedience to those laws upon which those blessings are predicated." Now, I know I got a couple of words right, but the concept rings true. And that is that there are laws dictating blessings. Think about that for just a second. What are some of the blessings you want in your life? Are they more money? Some people consider those blessings. Is it more meaningful relationships? Is it more health? Because what a lot of us would think of as blessings, we don't know or understand that we have a lot more control over those blessings than what we think. And that it's by observance or adherence to laws that we create those blessings in our lives. Because all too many of us, let's just take something super simple, like I need food. Having food on my table, that's a blessing. And let's go back in time. I talked about hunters and gatherers a long time ago. And let's say that you're a gatherer, right? And that means that you look around and try to find food. And when you find food, you consider it a blessing. And when you don't find food, you consider it a curse. But if you overlap that with what James Allen says, he says man is not a victim of circumstance, but a creator of his circumstance. And therefore, we're the ones that plant the seeds. And if we fail to plant the seeds to create our circumstances, then we are a victim of our circumstance. And when we realize that we're the ones planting all the seeds or neglecting to plant the seeds that are creating all the blessings in our lives, then things begin to change for us. And we stop complaining and blaming our circumstances and begin the process of planting and nourishing and growing our dreams and the blessings that we're looking for in our lives. We all understand because we live in a world full of cause and effect. We live in a world where gravity has effect, whether we like it or not. Things fall out of the sky. It might not help you if you're on the edge of a roof and you're hanging on by your fingernails and you need a blessing not to fall. Well, there's going to have to be a law that helps you not to fall. I was in an airplane yesterday. 80,000 pounds took off up off the ground and didn't fall. Why? Because there's other laws that counteract. And in that case, it was Bernoulli's law that creates lift. It was thrust that created the ability for man to defy gravity, literally to defy gravity. 200 years ago, that was a pipe dream. And now people fly all the time, and I think sometimes we take it for granted, but we counteracted the law of gravity, and we flew, and we fly today. There's laws of electricity. You can like it or not. You can dislike it, like it, understand it, not understand it. But truth is, if you put one hand on one side of on a positive and the other hand on a negative, that current is going to try to flow through you and you're going to get bit or burned. And if you observe the laws of electricity, then they can help you. They can provide light, they can provide heat. But if you misuse them, they could burn your house down. They could blow your hand off. Fire, same thing. Fire is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful tool. But if it's misused, it's not. And as we look around in our lives, I think there's a lot of laws that we're either not understanding or we're neglecting. And we wonder sometimes why we're not getting the results that we want. And we say that we're observing laws, but we're also observing laws that counteract. So let me give you an example at work. Somebody is working on being positive, right? And getting positive results in the workplace because they're trying to be nice or trying to be positive in their interactions with other people. And so they try for like 30 minutes to be positive. But then the rest of the day, they whine and complain and they're negative. And they wonder why life keeps working out kind of negative and their relationships are kind of negative. And they're like, but I was positive for like 30 minutes, don't you remember? And they don't realize that even though they were positive for 30 minutes and that helped them, they were also negative for more than 30 minutes and that hurt them. Something I've struggled with for a lot of my life is my weight. And anybody could tell you that if you eat more raw vegetables, that's going to have a positive impact on your health. And so too many people out there, they go eat more raw vegetables and they say, hey, I should be healthy. That's true. But it also means that you got to eat less donuts. You can't eat more of both and expect that equilibrium to change. We got to observe the law. And observe the law for what it is. And in our lives, there are laws dictating everything. And the more I study this, the more that I see it, the more that I realize these laws are affecting our compensation. These laws are affecting our relationship to everything, our relationship to our spouse, our relationship with our kids, our relationship to money, our relationships at work, our relationships with our neighbor. And it's just, are we observing laws, and which ones are we observing? James Allen talks about how we are not the victim of our circumstances, but the creator of our circumstances. And he uses the example of planting a seed and saying that we're the ones planting the seeds that are creating the results that we're getting. And most of those seeds are being planted in our minds. And so when we plant seeds of doubt and seeds of distrust and seeds of hate or envy, and we expect to get love and kindness in return, that has about as much sense as planting cucumbers and expecting to get a tomato. It doesn't work. And we have to take the result of saying, this is the result I want. What are the seeds that create that? And we have to begin to plant those. And at the same time, we have to stop planting the other seeds. We got to pull the weeds and get them out of there. And I know this is easier said than done, because in our minds, the path that's easy is the negative seeds. I'm in sales. And I've been in sales, specifically in the alarm industry, for 14 years. And I've been there and done that. I've seen it all. I've had the years where we've done incredible things, amazing things. This year's one of those years. My guys, I'm so proud of them. They're doing fantastic. And I've also had years where I crashed and burned. My worst year was 2011, back with Vivint. I sold like 64, and my team only sold like 300. It was embarrassing. It was horrible. And I suppose the reason I share that with you guys is because I was where I was, and I had what I had, and I was getting the results that I was getting. If you would have asked me back then, I would have told you it was because of my circumstances. It was because of the draft pick. It was because people stole recruits from me. It was because my co-manager bowed out and did something else. It was because my manager didn't care or whatever. I was a blamer. I was a complainer. I didn't really look at my circumstances and say, I created this. But now that time has been able to heal that wound just a little bit, and I've begun to realize that I'm the creator of my circumstances and that I got the results or the blessings or lack of blessings that I thought I wanted based on adherence to those laws, things began to change for me. And I went from that to a whole lot more, selling 177 the next year and recruiting 7 guys and having a better summer, and then jumping up into the 200s in a summer and recruiting more guys. And it's just kind of built since then into where this last year I had five different teams go out and multiple guys selling in the hundreds. And it's been a phenomenal ride and a phenomenal journey. And if I could just share with you guys that everybody thinks, hey, I want to be here right this second. I want to plant that oak tree, and I want it to be big, and I want it to be tall, and I want it to be strong tomorrow. They don't really realize that there's laws that are affecting and creating you and your circumstances and your environment. And yes, you can do some things to have that grow quicker, but I'll tell you what, you got to keep watering it. You got to keep growing it if you want it to come to fruition. And if you want it to become big and be an observer of those laws. I hear people all the time that say, I can't recruit. And I ask them, well, when was the last time you went out and contacted someone to recruit them? It's just like a single guy that says they want to be in a relationship, and I ask them, when was the last time you asked a girl on a date? And they say it was like 6 months ago. And I said, well, let me tell you something. If you want to be in a relationship, why don't you try asking 3 girls a week out until you're in a relationship? Because I'll tell you, that strategy would change your relationship status, for real. Same with recruiting, guys. If you want to recruit, cool. Stop talking about it. Let's go. Let's go get some recruits. But to just sit on the couch and strategize and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't get you there. And if you get a recruit and you don't take good care of them, you don't care about them, you don't help them to develop as a person or become proficient and skilled and knowledgeable, why would that person stick around? See, it's all about observance of these laws. And a manager commits to stuff. When they say, hey, yeah, come work with me, I'll train you, then you got to follow through. You got to do some training. You got to do some teaching. You got to do some mentoring. And you got to help them to develop in the person that gets better results. And if you're not willing to do that, cool, don't be a recruiter, don't be a manager. But you also don't get the benefit or the upside of that. I know this video is long, but I hope that it helps. I hope all of us can begin to realize that we are where we are, and we have what we have, and we've gotten the results that we've gotten based off of the laws that we're following or not following, and that we can change our circumstances because we can change who we are being and what we are doing. I hope that helps. I'm out.